G'day, Dave here. We're looking at Titus chapter 2 and verse 1. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had responsibility for doing quite a bit of teaching at church in an area that I've never taught before. And that is to do with the physical health and hygiene of the congregation. Big implications, of course, during this coronavirus pandemic. If we're going to go back to meeting face-to-face as a church on location at the school, and we're able to do that on Sunday, people need to be well instructed. They need to be very clear on good health and good hygiene because people's physical well-being is at stake. What are the implications of that? Well, a lot of communication. There's been a lot of writing, there's been videos, there's been upfront conversations, there's been one-on-ones, there's been meeting in small groups, there's been planning and working out how people must be kept healthy. On a Sunday, that has big implications. If you're not well, please stay at home. Zoom in. Don't come and meet proximate to other people. When you arrive at the church, well, it's literally at the school building, you have to come through one entrance. At that entrance, you're required to sign in. You are required to apply hand sanitizer, and then you must move to the place where you're going to be sitting. There's no scope really for milling around, catching up, giving a hug, kiss on the cheek, shake of a hand, none of those things, not anymore. Once you're into the hall, you'll be seated around tables, physically distant from each other. If you're married, of course, you're able to sit together. If you're part of one family, you can gather together around the table. If you're not, you need to keep 1.5 metres apart. There's to be no singing. We can't communicate because we'll be spraying droplets potentially that might pass on unwittingly a virus to others. So there's all kinds of things that I've been teaching to do with healthy and hygienic practice for church. And it's been so important because it's really about keeping people alive. People don't see a risk necessarily, but that's when things are most dangerous. Now, I was thinking about this. It's not something new. Well, the physical aspect of it is, but when I think back on the responsibility of being a pastor, my role has always been to be concerned for the health and the hygiene of the church, of the Christian people, of those gathered together, not so much their physical health and hygiene, but their spiritual health, and to be in a spiritually hygienic environment where people are safe, where people can grow and they can flourish, where people can interact in ways that will strengthen them and build them up. Now, Paul's writing this letter to Titus to encourage him to put leaders in place, particularly elders within each of the household churches, so that they can ensure that there is healthy teaching. Because the spiritual well-being of the churches and their longevity is at stake here. Let's pick it up at chapter 2, verse 1. But you, he says, are to proclaim things consistent with sound teaching. Now, this word sound here, literally it means healthy teaching. These are healthy things that need to be taught for the health, spiritual health of the church. Healthy teaching leads to healthy faith, leads to spiritually healthy lives. And so Paul talks to Titus, who'll talk to elders, to ensure that this is what they're teaching in all of the churches. And that's our commitment. It's always been our commitment within the church. As we're raising up leaders, as we're putting people into small groups, we're entrusting them to leaders who we believe will treat them well, that it will be a safe place to be, that they'll receive spiritually healthy teaching. Same with our children's ministry, our youth ministry, what we do in church, week to week, our one-to-one work. It's all got to be on about spiritually healthy direction, healthy teaching leading to healthy lives. And there's a contrast here, because if you remember back in chapter 1, he talks about people who have got seared consciences, people who aren't teaching the truth, people whose lives don't back up what they say, people who deny the reality of the gospel, and it's not showing in the way that they live. And we need to protect against people who would be like that. And the best protection is to teach the truth. And throughout these two chapters, he's mentioning the importance, he's highlighting the significance of sound, healthy teaching. Let me just give you some examples. Back in chapter 1, verse 9, the elder is to be able to both encourage with sound teaching and to refute those who contradict it. Healthy teaching. He's got to be able to teach that and contradict the error. Or down in verse 13, this testimony is true. For this reason, rebuke these false teachers sharply, so that they may be sound in the faith or healthy in the faith, whether he's talking about rebuking the teachers or rebuking those who listen to the teachers, so that they're healthy in the faith. Again, you see it there in chapter 2, verse 1, healthy teaching, and then verse 2. Older men are to be self-controlled, worthy of respect, sensible, and sound in faith, love, and endurance. That is literally healthy in love, faith, and endurance. Spiritually healthy lives. And Paul is calling Titus to teach that which is healthy. That's the responsibility of Christian leadership. Now, there's two aspects to this, and we've seen that in the description of elders already in chapter 1. The two aspects correspond to what you believe and therefore what you teach, and secondly, how that affects your life and then how you live. So it's not just head knowledge, it's also heart understanding, it's character that leads to transformed words and transformed lives. It's the whole spiritual health of the leader that's on view here, so that he can encourage and protect the congregation, that they too will be healthy, spiritually healthy. And what we're going to see here in chapter 2 is that this will work itself out in a whole realm of interrelationships within the church. There'll be particular things for older men, older women, younger women, people in different responsibilities and life situations. But the focus here will be on that which is healthy, which we will see in a great summary at the end of chapter 2, is that which flows from the gospel, the good news about Jesus. Once we understand Jesus, what he came to do in the past, what he's coming to do in the future, where we stand between these 2 points in history, we'll just understand even more the importance of keeping people spiritually vibrant, spiritually healthy, putting aside things that will lead to poor spiritual hygiene, so that people can be spiritually well and be with Christ for all eternity. That's the responsibility of the leader. And that's what Paul is calling Titus to put into place, and that's what we want to see in place in our churches today.